2 years ago, I realized that I had been sabotaging my chances of experiencing some of the most epic RV camping without even knowing it. And you might be unknowingly making the same crazy mistake that I was. Here's the thing. 4 years ago, when I first bought my Little Guy Max trailer, I made sure that each and every summer camping weekend I had a camping reservation. Okay, you may not be as obsessed as I am, so you might not make campground reservations for absolutely every single weekend. But I bet you do plan ahead and you do make reservations for all of the times you do want to go camping. Because if you're like me, you thought you needed to make a reservation, because without one, every camping spot would be filled and you wouldn't have a place to go camping. The thought of not being able to go camping on a precious summer weekend, or not knowing where I'd be camping on one of my sacred 2-week camping trips that I only get to take once or twice a year made me panic. Yep, that's how I felt if I didn't have a reservation. I had this inner fear of missing out. Crazy, huh? I know, obsessed camper here. But hear me out. Things took a turn when I found this campground, and this wasn't just any campground. Oh no. It was on the shores of Lake Superior. And this campground was special because another obsession of mine is camping in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, especially on Lake Superior. And this campground had epic waterfront campsites. If you've never experienced camping in the UP of Michigan, you've got to make a point of doing this. This place is magical. Okay, I got a little bit off track, but I wanted to let you know why camping at this campground was so important to me. But this campground didn't take reservations. All campsites were on a first come, first served basis. Planning a camping trip here without a reservation has sounded pretty risky to me because I live 440 miles away from there. And what would happen if I packed up all my gear and I traveled all the way there and all the campsites were taken? This would be my worst fear ever. I'd be miles from home, towing my camper without a place to camp. This situation would certainly ruin one of my sacred camping trips. But this campground was really calling to me, so I decided to take the risk. In June, during the prime camping season, I left home without a reservation and I headed to the 12-mile beach campground, a Michigan State Forest campground. Not only did I nab a great campsite, but this ended up to be one of my most memorable camping experiences. It's kind of crazy because now when I'm planning my summer camping trips, I only make reservations for about half of them. But there are some things that I've learned along the way that make doing this much easier, and I'm going to share these tips with you coming up in just a minute, because I discovered some of the most thrilling camping spots, and I've had the time of my life camping at places I would never have gone before I was willing to camp at first come, first serve campgrounds. And I'm challenging you to give this a try for at least one of your upcoming summer camping trips, because your world of opportunities will greatly open. Are you going to accept my challenge? Type either yes or no in the comment section below. I hope there are more yeses than there are nos, but we'll see. These are the 5 things you need to know before you head out without campsite reservations. And the first tip is knowing where you can find these first come, first serve campgrounds. And they're all over the place. The ones I've enjoyed have mostly been at city and county campgrounds and state and national forest campgrounds. Of course, some of these types of campgrounds do take reservations, but many don't. Tip number 2, you still need to plan ahead because you need to know where you're going to be going. Sometimes I search for campgrounds based on a specific location that I want to visit, but sometimes I just search for campgrounds that look really exciting to me, and then I'll plan my camping trip around that specific campground. But when Whenever I'm planning a camping trip without any reservations, I always make sure that there are backup campgrounds nearby. I always make sure that I have one backup and sometimes even two. That way, if a campground is full, I know where to go next. Because knowing I have options takes away all the stress. And I've never not found a place to camp doing it this way. When you go matters, which leads me to tip number 3. I've been at a lot of first come first serve campgrounds, and it just makes sense that they tend to be the busiest on the weekends. From my experiences, Friday afternoons are always the busiest. This is a popular time for people to start arriving. With that said, I've stayed at some really epic campgrounds that I've arrived at on a Friday or a Saturday, so you just never know. But if I am planning a weekend camping trip, I try to arrive on a Thursday whenever possible, or as early on Friday as I can get there. I usually find myself wanting to go to another campground after I've been at a campground for a couple of days. So if I'm planning a week or two camping trip, I'll always try to plan to travel to my next camping spot on basically any day other than Friday or Saturday, whenever possible. But the thing is, people are constantly coming and going. So even if you do pull into a campground that's full, a campsite might become available just 5 minutes later. If I get to a campground that's full, but this hasn't happened often, but it has happened. Then when I'm driving through the campground, I'll be looking to see if it looks like anybody's starting to pack up and maybe they're gonna leave soon. When I see this situation, I'll go over and talk to the people and ask them, are they leaving? And if so, when do they plan on leaving? And typically people are so nice, and because they're camping at a campground without reservations, they understand. And from my experience, they've always been really happy to let me know if they're leaving, and if so, when they're leaving. That way I can plan accordingly. Tip number 4 has to do with planning as well, because most non-reservable campgrounds don't have hookups. Every campground's gonna be different, but in my neck of the woods, the city and county campgrounds, they sometimes do have electric hookups, but when I've stayed at a national or state forest campground, the odds are there won't be hookups. But do not let this discourage you. But if you've never camped without hookups before, this is my second challenge for you. Go camping without hookups, because it's easier than you think. If you want to know just how easy it is, I've got a video that you've got to watch next. It'll explain everything you need to know about RV camping without hookups. I'll put the information for this video in the video description below. So knowing ahead of time if there are going to be hookups or not needs to be part of your planning process so that you're prepared. And the next tip has to do with planning too. Because once again, in my neck of the woods, the non-reservable campsites tend to be in locations that don't have cell service. And it's quite likely that you might encounter this situation too. But just like camping without hookups, camping without cell service is easy too. The main problem for me has been finding myself in a remote location that I'm unfamiliar with, and my Maps app was unable to show me where I needed to go, or where the nearest gas station was, or how I was going to get to my next location. So now I always download the map of the area that I'm going to be going to using the Google Maps app before I leave. This way, I can find my way anywhere without a cell signal. Having this information downloaded on my phone ahead of time before I leave has been so useful. I'll also leave information for this app in the video description below. I can't wait to hear if you're gonna accept my challenge. And if you do, I want to hear all about it. Click here to watch this video next if you want to see just how easy it is to camp without hookups, or if you want to discover the best app for finding those amazing epic camping spots. Click on this video right up here right now.